G'day everybody, it's Rabid, and I'm just doing a quick video of my Cyberpunk settings for my setup. AMD Ryzen 5 3600 and a RTX 2060. Now I do have an overclock running on the 2060 using MSI Afterburner, but I will put all the settings I'm using in the game, as shown here, in the description. I'll list exactly what I've got set to what, but yeah, I'm running at 1080p. I have my frame rate capped through VSync at 75 frames per second, and I'm going to do a quick run on two different saves. One's during the day and one is at night, and so you can see a couple of different examples of what to expect from my settings on my sort of specs. Also should mention I've got 32 gigabytes of DDR4. So first of all, we'll start with this daytime save. It loads up at V's apartment at the base of the building. I'll run out there, do a run across the block, then back to the car, and then drive to a waypoint, and then I'll do the same but in a nighttime setting where there should be less NPCs and things. But yeah, this is going to be the settings that I use to get what I consider to be a good balance of performance to quality, so the game doesn't look like arse and it runs okay. Okay, so here we are. As you can see, just standing here, we're at 69 frames per second. Won't be doing averages and min maxes. Run across here. Must be better than my live stream. As you can see, it's still fairly smooth. It's sitting at 55 frames per second. Try not to get run over. And then we will run back down this way, get in the car, go for a drive. So yeah, you can see we're dipping down to sort of mid to medium 40s, or mid to high 40s. So while we make it at a constant 60 FPS, the game stays playable. Get a big dip in the frame rate, but yeah, it depends on how many NPCs and vehicles you have around, that sort of thing. As you can see, we jumped up to 65 frames per second there. But I'm finding overall I get about 70 FPS on foot. Oops, that doesn't help. And yeah, your frame rate will jump up massively with these settings too when you're in indoor areas. It's just mostly the low frame rate is when you're outdoors. Oops, we've gone that way. Alright, get out of the car, run down to this weapon shop here, and then we'll end this test and load up the nighttime scene. As you can see, once we're indoors, massive jump in frames. Oh, I can't pull my gun out. Okie dokie. Oh, there you go. I think that's definitely playable on this machine. Probably tweak it and get it even more. I'm also running the AMD XE hack, where you hex edit the executable for the game. I will also post a link to the Reddit that discusses that. Let's do that again, but at night. Because it'll also be things like lighting as well as NPC population density. That's why I'm doing a nighttime run as a comparison. Okay, the dip as it loads up. Same dealio. But yeah, more often than not, I still find in the game I set about 60 FPS. Probably be higher if I wasn't recording, and using NVIDIA Broadcast to make my audio on the microphone sound better. But yeah, you can see the frame rates are getting higher now because we've got less population. And I do have the NPC population at maximum, so if I drop that down a notch, that would probably also be an increase in constant frames per second. And you can even see now, driving at night, less traffic, less pedestrians, again, getting higher frames. But I have found the game to be completely playable with these settings. Don't really notice it when the frame rates drip low. Combat can also make a difference too. Yeah, so be aware of that.
I'll take care of everything.
And as you can see, yeah, night time definitely get more frames per
going?
second. If you want to have a quick look at combat, we'll do that. There's the spawn cops in. Love the way the bodies fly around through the air. There you can see, still very playable. To the body cops. Okay, so we'll go back into the settings and we'll go through how I've got it set up. So video 1080p or 1920 by 1080. I have VSync on, capped to my monitors refresh rate, and I'm running it at full screen because running window borderless can have an impact on your frames per second too. Then graphics. I've turned off film grain, chromatic aberration, depth of field, lens flare, and motion blur. They don't have a huge impact, but considering this is sort of like the bottom line RTX card on the market, these extra frames per second, like if you get 2 frames per second from turning all these off for each setting, you're going to be saving at least 10 frames per second, or getting an extra 10 frames per second. Contact shadows on, improved facial lighting geometry on, entropy is 16. Local shadow mesh quality high, local shadow quality high, cascaded shadows range high, cascaded shadows resolution high, distant shadows resolution high, volumetric fog resolution high, and volumetric cloud quality is medium. I can also recommend turning this one off completely because honestly, unless you're looking at the sky, it doesn't really matter if you've got clouds there or not, or what quality they are. I've noticed volumetric fog resolution, some people recommend having that cranked up to the highest setting, but it actually does give you some extra frames per second without a noticeable loss in visual quality. Max dynamic decals is set to ultra. Screen space reflections is high. That's the reflections you see in windows, bodywork, that sort of stuff on cars. And yeah, it really doesn't change until you get down to low, I think. But it's, again, still acceptable for me at high. Subsurface scattering quality is high, ambient occlusion high, color precision high, mirror quality high, level of detail. And mirror quality as well, that's literally for mirrors. So if you don't use mirrors, you can probably turn that off for an extra 2 or so frames per second. And ray tracing completely off, DLSS set to quality, and yeah, the CAS settings off as well. Okay, and there you have it, that's my setup. Before we finish, I guess I will exit out and I'll give you a quick look at how I have my Afterburner set up. Now remember, my 2060 is not a super edition. It is just the bog standard Gigabyte WINDFORCE 2060. They announced the supers 2 weeks after I bought my copy, my 2060. So yeah. I'm still recording here because I won't be editing this. And here's Afterburner. Now I have the core voltage maxed out, power limit maxed out, temp limit maxed out, and core clock I have increased by 110. That's what I found to be stable on my card. I can go up to 120, but depends on the title. Some titles will run fine at 120, some will crash. And my memory clock at 500. Now your mileage may vary. But also, before we go, close that. I'm also running the Cyberpunk hex mod, where you use this program here, HXD, or any hex editor, and exit the game's executable. But there is a Reddit thread that I will bring up here. This might be it. Yeah, I'll post a link for that in the description, and I'll just show you a couple of pictures that show the differences I've got with my processors and its core usage through doing this. So, yeah, this is before the hack. You'll see at least 5 of my logistical cores are not being fully utilized, and you also see all this spiking on the top. Every time you have a dip down in the spike, that's a performance drop. You want everything sort of roughly smooth like that. But yeah, if I bring up the after, you will see now all the cores are being utilized and pretty maxed out, as well as it's very level during gameplay. There is no dips. So that also helps with the smoothness, even if I'm getting low frames. So yeah, that is worth trying out if you've got an AMD processor. I don't know if there's anything that works for Intel along the same lines, because it seems like that's part of the problem, is there is some sort of Intel check, and that's the hex code that you modify that disables a function called SMT on the AMD processors or something, which stops the game from accessing all the cores properly. Okay, well, I hope that helps you RTX 2060 owners out there, showing that you can have the game playable. The Geforce Experience default settings are pretty terrible. I guess before we go, I could bring up Geforce Experience and show the difference between my settings and what NVIDIA recommends for my hardware. So bear with me while this loads up, because I won't be editing this, so it'll be a straight up upload. And then if you go here, you'll see my settings on the left, and then NVIDIA on the right wants to turn on ray tracing. Massive drop. With ray tracing on, you will be lucky if you get 30 set frames per second. They went for the volumetric fog resolution to ultra, texture quality to auto, and screen space reflections quality, as well as a couple other differences. Like the improved facial geometry, you want to turn that off. And also set the distance shadows to low. But as always, experiment with your settings and find what works best for you. But I found that that's what gave me a compromise of decent performance while keeping the game looking like a modern, highly detailed game. Because I think the game, hopefully CDPR will bring out more optimization patches, because honestly, the game, the way it looks, the way it performs, I really think it should run better even on a 2060. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Rabid out. Bye-bye. Have fun playing.